Whew, it's really hot out here. Hi, today we're doing something a little bit different. I know the title made it seem like it was a tutorial, but it's just as much a tutorial as it is me trying to figure something out for the very first time. Today, we're gonna be setting up and creating a day for night scene. Day for night is a process that's used more often than you might think in filmmaking, and it's where you shoot something during the day with the intention of making it look like it was shot at night when you get into post. Now, I've never done anything like this before, but I have been reading up on it. I've been taking a lot of notes, watching a lot of YouTube tutorials because, well, I want to incorporate it into an upcoming skit. By the way, I hate the word skit. It sounds like something I do in summer camp. We need a new word for these things that I do. Maybe sketch, but that's more like comedy. How does everybody feel about the word microfilm? Let me know in the comments. So I've done a whole bunch of research on this and I've watched a bunch of YouTube tutorials and I think we've got everything we need. We got my camera right there. We've got some audio. We don't really necessarily need the audio, but it's something I want to do for this video. We've got my monopod already set up to eye level here so we can get our framing and our focus right. We've got a boom pole here with some reflector holders. I've got my little 5-in-1 reflector down there. And then we've got my handy dandy monitor. So I think we're good to go. One of the things that I learned through all of my research is that the filming of your day to night scene is just as important as the editing. There's a whole set of guidelines and I don't want to say rules, but we'll just call them rules because I can't think of a better word right now. I mean, you've got things like using your natural lighting to your advantage, shooting in an area that's shadowed, and also ways to simulate moonlight. Basically, there's just a whole bunch of things that you need to keep track of, which is why I love today's sponsor, Tascade, because the whole time I was doing my research, I had a project open in Tascade and I was embedding YouTube videos and taking notes on the gear that I was going to use, on filming tips, on editing tips, and all kinds of stuff. And when I was done and ready to film, all I had to do when I was outside was whip out my phone, pull up the Tascade mobile app, and I had all the information right there. It really made things super easy to keep track of and made it so I didn't have to remember everything off the top of my head. So if that sounds like something that would be useful to you, then make sure you click the link in the description, try out Tascade today, and use code JLippman at checkout for a 50% off lifetime discount. All right, we've got the next part of the shot set up. We've got my monopod here set up. See, focus card is right at eye level. So if we pull focus on this, then my eyes should be in focus, which will be good. We've also set it up. Let me show you. We've also set it up so this buckle right here is actually right at the bottom of my rib cage. So if we pull focus on the focus card and we set it up so this buckle is right at the bottom of the frame, then we should have a decent medium shot going on, which is what I'm going for. We also have it set up, I'm sorry for blinding you, but we are officially backlit by the sun here, and there's a reason for that. Well, I'll tell you about it later. This is just something I've picked up after a year of filming myself with a camera that doesn't have a flippy screen or autofocus. Limitations breed creativity, right? All right, we've got the Deity S-Mic 2S on the boom pole going into the Pocket 6K. It's just out of frame, which is nice. And then I've got my silver reflector here to bounce some of that sunlight. And instead of giving me a warm wash on my face, we're actually going to be, it's going to be more harsh. It's going to be a little bit cooler. It's going to represent moonlight a little bit better than the sun directly would, or the gold reflector, or even the white bounce card. Now, this part is actually really, really important when it comes to filming. And this didn't even pop into my mind until I was doing research and I was watching one of the YouTube videos. But if you think about moonlight versus sunlight, the moon is a light source that is surrounded by darkness. There's not a lot of bouncing of light around the atmosphere. So the light is actually, if you're looking at a full moon, the light is actually a lot harsher than it would be in sunlight. With sunlight, you do have that direct light source with the sun, but the light is also bouncing and refracting off of the atmosphere. So it's a little bit less soft, a little warmer. So that silver reflector really really comes in handy. All right, this is the shot that we're turning from day to night. We're backlit by the sun. I ended up moving the silver reflector over to this side because it was catching the sun better. It could put more light on my face, which is gonna make it much easier to do a day for night shot when we get into post. It's super hot out here. I'm just gonna turn my head and look at the camera. Oh, it's hot. Let's go inside and start editing. All right, we are in Davinci Resolve. We're in the color page. I've got my clip queued up. We're ready for grading. But before we dive into that, let me know, are you guys enjoying this format of video where I'm actually filming the thing and then showing you how to edit it and all of that stuff? If you are enjoying this format, let me know by giving this video a like, because I want to incorporate a lot more of the filming side of things into this channel. So give this video a like if you're enjoying it, if you want to see more of it. Also, while you're down there, if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And also maybe hit that bell, because I don't want you to miss anything. All right, let's start off by actually analyzing this image a little bit. You'll see that I've kind of got a little bit of a washed out look. I'm actually working in Davinci Wide Gamut. I've shot everything in Blackmagic Raw, and when you put Blackmagic Raw into Davinci Resolve with their Davinci Wide Gamut color managed thing, then you're supposed to actually get more of a Rec 709 look. But because I'm backlit by the sun and I have that silver reflector, which you can see the reflection of in the window here, because I have that bouncing back on my face, and because that silver reflector was right next to the lens, it's actually giving me kind of more of a washed out look. So the first thing that I want to do here in this very first node, I haven't created a node tree because this is kind of the first time that I'm doing this. So I'm doing the exact opposite of what I typically recommend, and I'm just kind of adding nodes as I see fit. So the first thing that I want to do, we're in our HDR color wheels. I want to add a little bit of contrast here just to give it a little bit more punch. Now you can see that we're definitely way brighter than we need to be. So what I'm going to do is come over to my global wheel. Let's go ahead and bring that down a little bit and add some saturation to the image. There we go. That's looking a little bit more punchy. I think that's a good starting point there. Maybe we'll bring the temperature down. Let's actually move over to our vector scope. There we go. And we'll bring our temperature down a bit. There we go. Add a little bit more saturation there. And I think that's a pretty good starting point. All right, let's go ahead and just label this node. We'll just call this Primaries, because that's all we really did here. I didn't really worry about white balance too much because we're going to be totally screwing with the color grade here. The skin tones are basically where they need to be. So I'm not too worried about white balancing here. So we're just adding contrast, getting just basic exposure right. And now we're gonna start like darkening everything up and making it look like a night shot. So we'll just label this Primaries, and we'll go ahead and add another serial node by hitting Alt-S. And what I want to do is maybe bring my shadows down. Let's see, if we bring our shadows down, what's that gonna do to the rest of the image? It's gonna darken. It's darkening just the shadows. So we actually want to darken the lights as well. We're going to darken everything down. There we go. Okay, I'm enjoying that. Now we definitely need to bring our specular highlights down. Our specular highlights, you can see, is just that piece of sky down here. That is, or up here rather, that's way too bright. So let's go ahead and bring this down. It's looking better. I think we still need to go a bit darker though. Let's see what happens. I'm working only in the HDR color wheels right now. So let's go ahead and bring our darks down, see if that's gonna do anything more. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Let's bring our shadows down even more. our lights down even more. See, my skin is definitely looking way too washed out there. So I'm actually not liking this very much. So you know what? Let's go ahead and we're going to reset this node grade. See, like I said, I've never done this before, so you're just seeing all the trial and error that goes into doing something for the very first time. All right, let's try our curves. Let's come into our custom curves here and see what happens if we just bring everything down. Let's actually switch over to our waveform so we can see what's happening here. All right. We've got our waveform, and that's looking pretty good right there, I think. I still want to bring those specular highlights down, though. There we go, and we're already looking pretty good. This is definitely starting to look like a nighttime shot. All right, now that we've done that, let's see what happens if we bring our shadows down now. So we're going to come down here, bring down the shadows. That's actually looking a lot better than it was before. And I think by bringing down the exposure using the curves and then bringing down the shadows, it's allowing my skin to pop out a little bit more, which is good. We want that. And the reason why we want that is because I'm talking. So we want the focus to be on me. If we make it so dark that you can't see me, then I mean, there's just no point in doing that. But here's the thing. I think I need to be a little bit punchier because I think that it's going to help these highlights show up a little bit more. So we're going to use this curve and we're going to add a little bit more contrast here. There we go. And let's go ahead and actually bring some color into this. We're going to use our global wheels, making this just a little bit more blue, just the tiniest bit of blue. I still think that this area up here, this sky is a little bit too bright. So let's come back to our specular highlights and see if we can bring those down even more without making them look too crazy. And I think we also need to maybe play around with the color of this a little bit. Actually, maybe if we bring the saturation down just a bit. There we go. That's starting to match up with the rest. Let's play around with the actual tones here. Somehow reset that exposure. All right, I think that's looking okay. Maybe bring down that saturation even more. All right, let's go ahead and play this through real quick. Let's take a look at what I look like. I can still see me. We're still pretty good. And I think for a night shot, that's actually looking really good. So let's go ahead and get a quick before and after here. So this is during the day, just kind of Rec 709'd it out. And then we made it darker. We made it look like night. And you see, because I made it punchier, these bits of light from that silver reflector are nice and cool and kind of harsh and actually look like the moon is shining down on me, which is exactly what I was going for. So I think we may have a winner here. So let's go ahead and label this node. We'll call this night correction. And let's add one more serial node. I think we may be able to do this with just 3 nodes. I think we might be able to do that. So here's what I want to do. I want to come into my curves. I want to go to Luma versus saturation. And I want to desaturate the darkest parts of my image. I think that's going to play into it a little bit. And now I just want to play with the overall saturation of this shot. So if I bring it all the way down, we got black and white. We definitely don't want that. Let's go ahead and move back over to our vector scope here and see what we're doing. A little bit of saturation. It's not too much though. I actually think that's really good. I'm wondering though, if maybe I need to do a little bit more with this section here. Like, can I use, let's see here. Let's go ahead and come in here and see what part. See if I bring the lights down more, it'll bring down that sky, but it'll also bring down part of my face here. Let's see what happens if I do that. Yeah, I'm not liking that at all, actually. So let's go ahead and reset that. So maybe what we'll do is a power window here. So let's add one more node here. I'm gonna add a power window around this little triangle here. So let's come to my power windows, grab that pen, and let's go ahead and zoom out just a little bit. And we're gonna go ahead and soften this out a little bit. Come into our custom curves. See if we can drop down the midtones. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Perfect. All right, so we forgot to label some nodes here. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So this was Luma versus saturation. And this was sky. And I think we might actually be pretty good here. Let's go ahead and deactivate all these nodes. So first thing we did, we did our primaries just to bring this into looking more like a Rec 709 look here. And then we made it look more like nighttime. We did our Luma versus saturation. Did that even do any? That didn't even really do much here. And then we darkened our sky a little bit more. And I think that's good. Let's do a quick before and after.
All right, this is the shot that we're turning from day to night. We're backlit by the sun. I ended up moving the silver reflector over to this side because it was catching the sun better. It could put more light on my face, which is gonna make it much easier to do a day for night shot when we get into post. It's super hot out here. I'm just gonna turn my head and look at the camera. Oh, it's hot. Let's go inside and start editing.
Now, like I said, I've never done this before. So for those of you who have done day for night before, let me know what would you have done differently, because I'm definitely not an expert and I'm definitely still learning this stuff. So I'm here for your suggestions. I know there was a bit of vignetting in the image. That was probably because of the ND filter I used. But for the most part, I think we hit it off. I think this was a very, very good, rough first try, and I think we're well on our way to being able to film maybe an episode of Project Redlam with this. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you definitely need to check out this video right here. And for more tools, tips, and tricks that will make you a better video creator, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.